You can edit the home page depending on what type of site you have. If you have just a regular standard SharePoint team site with publishing turned off, it's a wiki page. It just depends on the site template. So out of the box, it's going to be a wiki page. Could have a web part page. You could also, if you have publishing turned on, then it will be a publishing page, which means it's going to be in the pages library. So the way you can tell is you can look and see if it's in the site pages library, then you know you have a wiki page. If it's in the pages library, then it's a publishing page. And those types of pages have definitely different editing experiences. The easiest way to change the home page is just using the ribbon. You just go ahead and select it as the home page. You can also do it in code. You can use the property bag feature, and so the property bag feature, that would be declaratively in a feature with feature XML. You can propagate that, provision it. .NET wise, you can just use the regular SharePoint object model and change the home page via property on the SP web object. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at creating and setting a new home page. We'll do it both through the browser and in Visual Studio. Okay, so now we're going to add a new page to our site, and then we're going to make that page the home page. So what I'm going to do is click on my my settings icon and go ahead and click add a page, and notice how it's putting it in the site pages document library. That's because I don't have publishing turned on, so this is just a regular team site with no publishing turned on. So it's going to go in the site pages library, and it's going to be a wiki page. So I'm going to call it new home page. Go ahead and save that. So I've just saved the page. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the ribbon. I'm going to select Make Home Page. So when I click this, it's going to set the site. So you can see here I'm getting a warning that users won't be able to see the old site home page. So now it says it's now the site home page, so we can test that. And of course, indeed, that is the case. If I click on the home, I go right to the new home page. So now what we're going to do, we're going to open up Visual Studio again, and I'm going to add what we're going to do is we're going to provision a different home page this time. We'll just use one of the ones that's out of the box. So if we go to, let's look at the site contents, and let's go to the site pages library. You can see here's where our page got created, and then what I'm going to do is just go ahead and I'll set this to be the home page in the feature. We'll provision this one through code in Visual Studio to be the new home page. So I'm going to add a new element. And it'll just be an empty element. And I'm going to call it property bag. And in the XML for my elements, I'm going to use the property bag element to specify the property that I'm going to set in the property bag of the website. Specify folder for the property type, and then root web only, we'll just make that false. And I'm going to go ahead and start entering the property definition right now. So this has to be named exactly like this for it to work, because this is the name of the property in the SP web that controls whether or not what page is actually the home page. It's called VTI_welcome page. And I'm going to make it's a relative path, so site pages is the name of the library. I believe that's the name of the page. I'm going to have to go and double check that. And type is string. And that should be all we need there. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's make this a little bit easier to read. And I'm going to add a new feature. Oh, actually, yeah, we can just leave it in the, we'll leave it in this feature. That's fine. We can leave it in feature 1. So what will happen is when I deploy this, it's going to activate this feature. It should change that. What I need to do real quick is just double check. Okay, so that page is actually spelled correctly. So this should provision that page. So I'm going to go ahead and build and deploy. Do my build, make sure everything looks good. Then I'm going to deploy. Okay, now let's go back to the site. Click on the home link. It's taking a little while because we just deployed a solution, so SharePoint had to basically start things up again, get rid of the cache. So now it's caching everything again. It wasn't really a full IS reset, but it did recycle the application. So that's sometimes after you deploy a solution, you try to open it, it's going to be slow. Okay, so there, it did work. So now our home page is the look and feel page, just like we set in the code. So now what we want to do is I'm going to go back into that feature receiver. I'm just going to add some more code to it. And now I'm going to, what we want to do is change the home page back to the default. So I'm going to get the root folder, the handle of the root folder of the web. Because the welcome page property is actually, it's a property of the folder, and so we want to make sure we're in the root folder. So here we'll use the relative path again, and this is pretty easy. Just home.aspx. And then since we're actually just updating the root folder, not the web itself, we need to update the root folder. In fact, I'm going to move this back as well. So I'll do a web, update the web after I update the folder. So now I'm going to deploy this. And when I deploy it again, now we should get back. This should go ahead and set the original page back. So it's going to provision the look and feel, but the feature event receiver kicks in after the feature. So this should actually change it back to the regular home page. So when I click on home, it should take us back. And it's going to take a little while because, again, we deployed the solution. And there it does. There it is. It did in fact change it back to the default. So you can see here, site pages home.aspx, and that's exactly what this page is. Site pages home ASPX. And we still have the look and feel as the title of site because that's what our feature event receiver told it to do. So that is pretty much it for how you can set the home page, provisioning it through code and as well as using the browser.